all for enjoying our beautiful lunch hour with us. It is now time for you to make your way to your breakout sessions in the afternoon. So please exit. For those of you who are choosing the maternal and infant mental health breakout sessions, it is taking place in meeting rooms 1 through 4. If you are choosing the unsilenced Women's Voices and Advocacy, it is taking place in ballroom D through H. And if you are staying in this room for the Fatherhood Effect, which is a panel, please make your way towards the center of the room. Our breakout sessions will begin in 2 minutes, so now is the time. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. We are ready to kick off our afternoon. My name is Samantha Silver. I am the Director of Transformation Initiatives at the Broward Healthy Star Coalition. I'm going to be your point person today for logistics at this breakout. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping notes so that we have everything squared away. So our moderator, Dr. Sharetta Remikie, is going to facilitate today's discussion. After the panel, we will have, if we have time for questions and answers, we will do so. If we don't have time, just because of the flow of the conversation, we're gonna just hope that everyone understands if we don't get to that. We will do our best, though we know that a lot of people like to engage in the conversation. So everyone should have index cards, and if you don't, then we're gonna get them to you right now so that you can write down questions that you may have that we'll collect at the end, and Dr. Remikie can select some questions from the audience. Please complete your evaluation before leaving. I have colleagues here, Kamar and Sammy, that are going to also be point people in this room. So if anyone needs anything throughout the duration of this discussion, and Zoe is here as well, one of us will be sure to assist you. Again, don't forget to complete your evaluation before leaving. You'll be unable to receive CEUs if you don't complete that evaluation with your name included. You can submit it via the QR code. So let's get into this. Moderating today's panel is Dr. Sharetta Remikie, a friend of mine, a respected leader in maternal and child health with extensive experience in public affairs, advocacy, and policy development. She has worked on key initiatives aimed at improving health outcomes for families and under-resourced communities, and has contributed to shaping public health policy at both the local and state level. And I'm just going to add what my friend Marcy said about her, that she was raised by a strong father and is married to a strong father and has strong fathers for children. So, needless to say, qualified. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Remikie for us to kick this off.
Thank you, Sam. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Oh, my God. I'm surprised we got so many. We're important. Yeah, wow. But I am also going to be aware and cognizant. This is the panel after lunch. So we want to make sure that we get good energy flowing in this room right now, because this is a very important topic that we've created space to have this conversation. And I want to thank my friend Joel, who motivated me to do this. If we have any other gentlemen in this building, I need you to come up front and center. You are the stars and the VIPs. We need you up here. Come sit up here. Seats are up front. Don't make me call you out, Franz. All right, come on. We have gentlemen in here. Come find a seat up front. Yes, let everybody see that, that you are here and you are representing. Thank you for being obedient. This afternoon, This afternoon, we're going to be having a very good conversation. I had the opportunity to meet these three gentlemen prior to us getting here today. And when I met them, I had asked them a question: what made them say yes to being a part of the fatherhood panel? And they gave me some dynamic answers that it motivated me to the point that I had them some t-shirts made. Stand up, gentlemen. Let the people see. It said, I said yes to fatherhood. All right? Let's give them a big hand. And I'm not a father, but I said I support fatherhood. So we are here. We know fatherhood is a unique and transformative experience that shapes not only the lives of fathers, but also the well-being of their children and their families, and I'm going to even add the communities. Fatherhood is a crucial yet often overlooked aspect of the maternal child health. We know that family roles and structures continue to evolve, intersecting with challenges such as mental health and social determinants of health. Today's discussion, we will explore the unique experiences of fathers, their contributions to infant and child development, and ways to support engaged fathers in prenatal and parenting activities. Our panelists, who have embraced the role of fatherhood with open hearts and minds, will share their stories, insights, and challenges. They will discuss how saying yes to fatherhood has impacted their lives, their relationships, and their approach to parenting. First, we have with us Jean Robert Menard. Stand up, Jean, so they'll know who you are. All right, Jean. Jean brings over 15 years of experience in fatherhood engagement and home visiting programs. As program manager of Healthy Families Broward, he has been instrumental in developing initiatives that support fathers and playing a more active role in their children's lives. Give it up for Jean for saying yes again. Next, we have Daniel Thompson, a dedicated father, yes, and community member, originally from St. Martin. Yes, balances his work in maintenance, plumbing, and mechanics with his deep commitment to fatherhood. And I must say, his children are here, and his wife, correct? Where are they? Oh, there they are at the back, wait. He offers a first-hand perspective on the challenges and rewards of being an engaged father and community member. Thank you, Daniel, for saying yes. And next, Dr. Michael Schenker, a licensed psychologist. Stand up. Yes, thank you for saying yes. A licensed psychologist in private practice for over 25 years, specializes in children, adolescent, and family mental health. He has worked extensively with children facing emotional and behavioral challenges and frequently presents on positive parenting strategy. So we just are thankful again to you gentlemen for saying yes, and we're gonna dive right into the questions because I wanna make sure that your voice is heard, okay? All right, so this question is for everyone, so think about this. Can you share what fatherhood means to you and how it has shaped your life? We'll start with you, Jean.
Okay. So what fatherhood means to me, fatherhood is you'll find a lot of people say that it's legacy. Okay, it's about sharing your knowledge, your expertise. It's about sharing, most of all, love, understanding, and it's also about commitment. A lot of times, commitment is one of the things that we strive to have, right? And because of our daily lives, sometimes we forget that even the small amount of time that we spend with our kids is showing them the commitment that they need. So that's one of the things that when it comes to father, that's what really means to me is that commitment and that consistency of being there and being present. Because it's one thing to be there, but it's another thing to be present in the child's life.
Yes, I like that, yes. Thank you, thank you. What about you, Daniel?
Well, fatherhood to me is a whole lot. I was raised by my dad, my mom, and my bad. Sorry for y'all. I was just thinking about my dad. Fatherhood is good. It's giving, it's love. I mean, it's many ways you could look at life, but sometimes it's hard when a child is without their father because they really need it. A mother can raise a child, but a household raised the village. So with that, a child needs their father in their life.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. I like that household raise a village. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Michael?
Well, wow, that's loud. First of all, I just want to explain that I'm a stutterer. So if you see me hesitating, getting my words out, I'm not having a seizure. This is supposed to be about an hour, but because of me, it'll be about an hour and 20. I hope you guys don't mind. Okay, disclosure's out. So for me, honestly, I think that fatherhood taught me how to love. Because I don't think, well, let me just preface that I've always said to my clients that I don't know what love is for sure. Like everyone writes about it, they write songs about it, they write books about it. It's really hard to define love. And I always have said that I think the closest thing to love is the love that a mother has for her child. But, you know, I'm having to kind of rethink this because I think that a good father also does that as well. But until you're a parent, I don't think you really understand what it means to make it all about the other person. And you really have to be a loving parent. It's got to be all about them for a really, really, really long time. Until then, their love tank gets filled, and hopefully it can hold that love and gives them confidence and self-esteem, and then they go and they can now give love to others and to their children. So being a father or a mother, I think it teaches you how to love.
Oh, I love that. I love that it teaches love. Yes. So what do you see as the biggest challenge fathers face in being involved in maternal child health? You saw today, you were here earlier, you heard all the conversations, how initiatives are really derived for a mother's health and, you know, being during pregnancy and with the children. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges fathers face in being in this space? We'll start with you, Daniel.
Well, the biggest challenge I would say is depends on the child. Because sometimes if the child is born with a defect or something, some fathers just walk out and they don't stay there. And it's bad because then it has a mental breakdown on them. At the same time, mental breakdowns happen. Be honest, I had a mental breakdown. And I struggled through my times dealing with certain situations. And a lot of people would never understand because as a man, we would sit there, we won't speak out and say nothing. And with that, I had to come to standing with my girl and speak out. So mental, it has a trigger on men. If women don't believe, it does hurt us. We don't say nothing, but we still love you because you're there with us. And seeing a child in front of you it's the best thing in the world, man. I'm sorry to say it. It's the best thing you could ever have.
Don't be
The
sorry.
best.
Don't be sorry to say that. That is a wonderful thing to say. And, you know, like you said, it's just like we have to, and that's one of the reasons this panel is one of the primary parts of this conference because we need that space so you can be able to have an opportunity to say what you go through, what are some of those challenges and what are some of those things are. Jean, you want to add to that, some of the challenges of fathers face being involved in maternal child health?
Yes. I think some of the challenges is just the perception that the people have on the role of the father. I think we've gotten I think we've gotten into such a society where if a man is involved, he's controlling. If a man is present, he's domineering. And you lose the perspective on the actual influence that the father has within the household, whether it's on the children or even whether it's with the person that they're involved in that relationship with. There's a dynamic, like Daniel's saying, there's a dynamic in that household that both parents fulfill. And one of the things is not just for a father monetary, but it's also emotional. Mm-hmm. Fathers do play a role in the emotional upbringing and stability in a child's life. And so you do need that balance between the mom's version of affection versus the father's role of affection. And I think once we break through that stereotype on where the father fits in and how important he is, you'll always run into those issues where he's going to be viewed as an intruder versus a welcome participant.
Yes, I like that. We need to make sure that they are welcome. The welcome sign is on. You can come in. Dr. Michael, what do you think maybe some of the challenges for fathers in the maternal child health space?
I mean, I think the first challenge is that men, up until very recently, just aren't socialized to be parents. I had two loving dads, a dad and a stepdad who I lived with, and they both were really there for me when I needed them. But growing up as a child, they were at work and my mom took care of me. And I really didn't see them as a role model for how to be a dad to a child. So it's not even having, it's not having familiarity, not having the knowledge, because girls are socialized to be moms from the get-go. They're given dolls to play with very, very early. It's natural that they would feel more comfortable in that whole world of parenthood when it happens. So it really has to start earlier, and the father has to feel competent also. I think that you have dads who either feel very incompetent and they back off and they don't want to take a co-parenting role. They just kind of let the mom do everything because that's her area of expertise. Or you might have a dad who doesn't have a lot of expertise or knowledge, but has the attitude that he has to be in control, and he tries to take the lead. And I see that that doesn't work out all that well, because mother bears will defend their little cubs when the dad is being overly harsh or punitive or what have you. So I think it starts with socialization and making them feel comfortable learning about how to be a parent.
Oh, I love that. And we're going to even talk a little bit more about that socialization part, because we know how different generations are socialized around their parenting roles. So how do you think society's expectations of fathers have changed over the years? You want to start, Jean, with that?
I think there is, like the doctor was saying, there's more inclusiveness towards fathers now. I think there's a bigger push with fathers wanting, the ability for fathers to be involved is there. I think it's slow, but it is changing. I think that, especially when it comes to home visiting programs, I'm gonna say since we're all home visiting programs here, it's still such a big component that is geared towards mom. And so you kind of lose the interest of the father because of the fact of they're not included into the home visit. They're not included into the conversation. And you'll find that a lot of times the conversations then become one-sided. And so what mom feels, I feel, because that's the story that I'm getting. I think if you want a fuller picture, you have to include, if the father is present, you have to try to get him included into those visits, into that space, and make it a safe space, because no one likes to voice their opinion and then it be dismissed. And so what you want to do is you always want to make it a safe space for fathers, that they can voice their opinion. It's heard, it's valued. It may be wrong, but at least it's heard and it's valued. Because again, like the doctor was saying, and like Daniel was saying, there are times and there are spaces where the mom, once you find out mom is pregnant, she's getting all this information. Friends are coming by saying, you're gonna lose sleep, you're gonna not be able to do this, this is gonna happen. dads are often left with no information at all. It's just they're left to fend for themselves. I've come into many contact with many dads that feel like, and I think because of my education, I knew with myself that I was going to be hands-on day one. But you find a lot of fathers who are hands-off day one because they say, the baby's too small. I'm scared I'm going to hurt the baby. Whereas when it comes to the moms, it's more so, this is how you hold the baby. This is how you're going to pat the baby. This is how you're going to burp the baby. This is how you change the baby. And so once you start to change that role and say it's an inclusive role on both parties, you'll get that buy-in from fathers to be more accepting, more wanting to be included, more and feeling more valued with their input on the children.
So do you think you've seen that change gradually going to that inclusivity of
I have.
fathers? Okay.
I have seen that.
What about you, Daniel?
For me, well, it's changing because back in the days, you could say fathers always was there for their kids, always provide everything else. You have some guys that just, like close the door or whatever. How you would say, mothers. Tell you the truth, it's just, I don't know how to say it. It's like, it's there, but it's, I say it's changing. But you have to speak to the younger group nowadays to get them to where our fathers was. You know what I'm saying? Because mostly when we came home, Dad was always home. Anytime he leaves the house, it's like, is he coming back? What time is he coming? And it goes through the child mind and everything else. But fathers nowadays, it is stepping up to where fathers are taking initiation of their kids.
Getting more involved,
Getting
being more present,
involved,
as
yeah.
Gene said earlier.
Yes, it is.
What do you think, Dr. Michael? The societal changes.
I think that if you look at the social emotional curriculum that they're doing in schools now, I think in South Florida, the tri-counties, it's like mandated, I think, to have some social emotional. Can anyone speak to that? Am I telling a lie up here on stage, or does anybody know? Anyway,
We're just going to assume you're telling the truth.
Thank you. So children are definitely starting to get emotional intelligent lessons early on, and that's kind of, I think, a prerequisite for being a parent. And again, if you feel competent talking about feelings and emotions, and you can deal with sadness and crying and temper tantrums, you're more likely to get involved, right? I think that if you look at some societies, like in Scandinavia, they put a lot more emphasis on paternity support, paternity leave, and you see much more involvement. So I think that the tide's been changing. I think that I don't know that in the 50s dads were carrying around sacks of sugar that had to be a baby that they had to keep alive, but I know that in the past 50 years they do that. They even have like little babies that both boys and girls, they wet and they cry, and you gotta feed them or they die, and it's an introduction. So yeah, I think that it's been changing, but it's slow. I think that many, many, many more men nowadays are taking time off of work, but it's still not the accepted norm.
So that means we still have a lot of work to do in that role. Gene, I'm going to ask you, how can healthcare and social service providers better understand and respect the cultural nuances of fatherhood across diverse communities? Yeah, that's really good.
I think it's understanding, I think it's a case-by-case basis. Sometimes it's understanding where the father feels he fits inside the role, what his expectations are. I think a lot of times we're given a, for lack of a better, we're given a fairy tale expectation of what the father should be versus a realistic expectation of what a father is doing and how they can fit in. The dynamics of the household is always changing, and so you have to have that inclusivity, especially within the healthcare system, within the social services field. I'll give you a personal. I remember when my wife was pregnant at the time with my son, and I was going to doctor's appointments. So I was a very involved father. We were going to doctor's appointments, everything. And so she got pulled aside one day because I was going to every appointment and everything. And she was asking, was she in a DV relationship, an intimate partner violence relationship?
Wow.
And so, of course, she wasn't. And so she, she cleared that up. But the fact that because I was at every appointment, rather than saying, man, he's really into this, he really wants to be a part of it, it was more so, he must be doing something wrong. And he must be trying to stop her from being able to do something. And so I think, and we have to educate the healthcare system to recognize what intimate partner violence looks like versus what an involved parent looks like. And we start to, and I think we do a great job with our home visitors and everyone else on that education front, and I could be wrong, I'm not deep into healthcare, but I think that piece is something that needs to be incorporated into the healthcare system also, so that they can get that ongoing education of what the red flags are, of what to look for when it comes to relationships and families.
I'm going to go a little deeper on that question. How do you think that would have played out if you were of another race? You think the healthcare system would have seen that father in that same space?
I don't think so. And again, I think because of just me growing up in the society I grew up in, where because of my background, who I am, the way they looked at me wherever I walked, it was always an issue. And so when you get into those certain spaces, they have people have a preconditioned notion of who you are before they even get to know you. And so what we have to do as fathers, as men, is to continue to just do what we know is right, and we break those ideas and norms, and we continue to just move forward with what we know we need to do as parents, to be involved, to stay involved, and don't let those outside triggers, because I'm not going to make it seem like it's everyone who feels this way, but there's enough where it is damaging, right? And so we just have to break through those that are damaging and continue to just move forward and prosper.
Thank you for that. And so Daniel, this is almost like a next step to that question. So what would you say to fathers who don't feel welcome or encouraged to engage in maternal and child health discussions, not to be involved with the moms while they're going through this process? How could you encourage them? What would you say to them?
Well, I went to an episode with that the other day at work. A guy was telling me, oh, such, this and that. I was like, listen, break it down to you. Being a father is the best thing in life. Being there for your girl is the best thing in her life because she feels loved, she feels wanted. It's just hurtful to see that sometimes. Like, oh, I don't want to be in my child's life, or da-da-da. But wasn't your parents there for you? Yeah, okay then. So be in your child's life the same way your parents was for you, because that's a piece of love that you're giving away, and you're just throwing it away, and it's something that you could cherish to the most, that where when you look at, it's like looking at a glass, but you're not looking through it, you're looking at it. And you see your image in that same glass, but just a smaller version of you, that what the world will see. So you're thinking like, well, what will happen in the future? You have to be there to know their future.
Have to be there to know. I love that. I love that. So Dr. Michael, you talked about this a little bit, I think, before. So what are some common struggles fathers face with emotional expression, and how can they develop healthier ways to process and communicate their feelings?
So the biggest is, I think, that they're just not taught to talk about feelings. They're just not socialized, at least my generation wasn't. So feelings are very alien. That's what women do. They talk about relationships and they talk about life, and men do things. Like women are beers and men are doers. Men like to solve problems. Men are problem focused. So I think that that's the biggest obstacle. I want to share a story that highlights my incredibly smart wife,
Who's in the audience?
Dr. Maite
Stand up.
Schenker.
Stand up.
We had a son, and when he was 4, we had a daughter. And my wife went out and bought him this big box of presents, and she wrapped it all in this big, huge box, and we had it at the hospital. And when he came, I think the morning after we had our daughter, to meet her, my wife told him that the baby had given him this present. And he opened it up, and it included a doll, which he, of course, named Roger. It included a miniature version of Greco playpen and a Greco car seat and a Greco stroller and high chair. And pretty much, as we were taking care of our daughter, the new baby, he was taking care of his new baby. Now, I think that having kids 4 years apart is easier on the parents, harder on the older sibling. Easier on the parents because the 4-year-old can do more stuff. You don't have to parent them as much, so you have more time to give to the baby. Harder for the older sibling because for 4 years they were the center of everybody's universe, and now all of a sudden, even with the best parents, they get maybe half of what they used to get. So that's not very fair, kind of sucks. And so anyway, I think that this really, really helped him. But the way I think that it affected him later on, if you look at my son and my daughter, he's 24, she's 20. They're both awesome. He is really good with children, right? Yeah. He is just really good. He's so great with little kids. And I'm convinced that it's because he had that experience from the get-go. So, what was your question?
I think you got it. You got it. You kind of answered both of the ones I had for you, but that's good. That was good. I love that. Thank you. So with all of that, and I know we feel real motivated. Daniel, let me ask you, what motivated you to take an active role in fatherhood rather than a passive one when you probably seen so many people around you who were doing that? Was there a turning point or experience that shaped your involvement?
What shaped my involvement was just having my dad around me, my grandparents, everything else. So when I first found out I was having a child, she's 22 now. Yeah, she's 22. My bad, y'all. So, it was fun. It was joy. I mean, it's like heaven. It's like you can't stop this. It's like a door of joy that you just walk into, and it's just you. You just see the tunnel, just having. I mean, for me, it was a blessing. That's all I can say. It's a major experience. And if you can't enjoy that life being brought into your life, something's wrong with you.
And thank you. And you know what? I applaud that you're a parent. Your father was around, your grandfather, but there's so many men and young men who don't have that and don't have that legacy, as we talking about legacy, to be passed down. So I'm going to ask you, Jean, what role can home visitors, and specifically speaking about fatherhood, what role can home visitors and community partners play in supporting and bonding attachment with fathers?
I think I said it earlier, but I reiterate inclusion, just including them in more aspects of it. I know there's a piece of home visiting when it just becomes, for the mom, and it's in intimate conversations between the home visitor and the mom. But sometimes even asking, can we include dad into this, or would dad be interested? I'll get a lot of home visitors who say, yeah, the dad will be walking around in the background, and he wants to join in, and he's just like peering. In those instances, include him and say, hey, you know what, we're having a conversation about this. Come on over and join us. And I think you'll get a different perspective. I think I'll say this, moms and dads will never parent the same. Just the interactions are always going to be different. And that is what helps to build a well-rounded child. You'll find that there are studies that show the way dads interact with their kids. You'll see dads horse playing, picking up their daughters, throwing them against this, picking up their sons, horse, and that is all part of an experience that allows a child to grow and expand, right? And moms, like I always use this example when I'm talking to crowds. I say, you have a child's walking, trips and falls. Dad's instinct is to look at him and go, look away. Mom, oh my God. And once they do that, the child starts to cry. But when dad stops and looks away and just lets them be, the child get up, brush themselves off, and keep moving. And it's not that you're denying the affection, you're letting them know you're okay, that's part of life, just get yourself up, brush up, and move on. And you'll find that those two different parenting styles are what makes that child become 100%.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And, I was listening to, as you talk, and you were talking about the home visitor, and I was thinking that's usually when a one-on-one in the situation in the home. So that would be one father, one mother. So it's always seemed like an individual effort. I think what we need to also, if I would add to this, is create communities for fathers to come together. And I know we have a fatherhood program at Healthy Start that is really doing that. But I think creating those communities, those spaces beyond the Little League football fields, try to take advantage of those spaces where they are and start building communities, not just around the sport, but around being fathers. So that was something I was thinking about when you were saying that, because when you do the home visiting, it's usually one-on-one. So, but if you can get them in a community of fathers to start having some of these conversations, that is a big inclusive spot.
It is.
It is. So thank you for that.
And can I just add? I want people to understand that fathers will express themselves. Men will express themselves. And the minute that you cut them off from expressing themselves, they will always shut down. And they will never express themselves to you again, but they'll always express themselves to someone else who is going to give them that freedom and that safe space to express themselves. So I want you to, just to take away, be mindful on the interactions, be mindful, and just pay attention to how the men are behaving, because, again, you want to keep that communication open. You want them to be able to feel safe, to always come back to you and have that conversation.
Yes, I love that. And I'm gonna ask this final question, so I'm gonna give you guys some time to think about it. So each of you will answer this for me. If you could change one thing about how our community views and supports fathers, what would it be? Start with you, Daniel.
I would say stop judging the book before you read it.
Good, I love that. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, I wrote that down. I ain't see no pen. Say it again. Say it again.
Stop judging a book before you read it.
Okay, all right. That's the one thing he wanted to be changed. Okay, Dr. Michael, if you could change one thing about how our community views and supports fathers, what would it be?
I would hire a really good advertising agency, like the one that Publix has. And I would just do a campaign across social media, especially, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. And I think that it just has to start super, super early, that boys are just assumed that they are going to be loving parents if they choose to be, and that they learn emotional intelligence, and they just get used to the idea that this is just what life, that this is part of life for both boys and girls, is that you can be a parent and be involved, and they need to see that very, very early in their life, from the earliest. And it, of course, starts in the house. It'd be great if they just had really great role model at home, but even if they don't have that at home, they can still see it on Sesame Street and whatever the equivalent is nowadays.
Thank you. And Jean? If you can change one thing about how our community views and supports fathers, what would that be?
Attitude.
One thing. Okay.
Attitude. I think, and I think that just boils down to what Daniel was saying, and also what the doctor was saying. I think the attitude of just the people. If I could change the attitude, I think that goes a long way in changing the way they start to deal with the fathers.
So that's attitude, and that's a commitment. Yes, yes. So I'm going to say this closing statement, and then we're going to open up to questions. Where's my crew, Sam? And okay, I see the crew. So I just want us to know that recognizing fathers' voices is a necessity, as it allows us to understand the diverse experiences and perspectives of fathers. By listening to their voices, we can better support and empower them in the roles, ultimately benefiting the entire family unit. So today, please leave here with a commitment to saying, yes, fathers are important. All right, let's do it. Yes, fathers are important. All right, thank you, panel. Questions? We have a couple up front. Where we have mic runners, or they're just asking? Okay, we have mic runners.
Joel, I'm coming. Joel gets open mic night at the Fatherhood Effect.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you, panel. Very exciting and helpful. We work in a poverty community, multi-generational poverty, 100% black, very matriarchal. And I heard you gentlemen say you had a family present, you had a dad or a key adult figure. We're dealing with a lot of adolescent males who are not engaged, who do not have a male figure or have not had one, and may be proud to have fathered a child, but not be a father. So I think an important piece of this conversation is, how do we help young adolescent males, particularly black poverty males, see the value and the understanding of the long range changing the dynamic in a community?
I think it's going to be having them understand their impact. When you're dealing with adolescents, you're dealing with a young mind, right? And so even at our age, we still don't have everything figured out, right? So definitely at their age, there's not a lot of things that they have figured out. When you're dealing with adolescents, it's more of a, what am I going to do tomorrow versus what I'm going to do in the next 5 years. And I think getting them and having a constant, just that constant education to them, to let them know that, and I wouldn't even hit them with, and that's quite controversial, I wouldn't even hit them with you're a father now, you have to change. Because a lot of times people don't understand what fatherhood means. Just being a father doesn't mean you're going to change. But if you want better for yourself, I think that's where you're going to impact them more, is letting them understand how this affects them and how they need to change themselves to be better for themselves so they can be better for someone else. And I think that's where for me, I think that's where we start when it comes to reaching our adolescent youth, is providing them with that understanding of how you impact the world in where you sit versus how everything is impacting you.
And where you sit now.
And where you sit now. Yes.
Another question?
Yes, thank you so much for all the insight. My question is, as a mama's boy, growing up in my mama's house, I didn't have a father figure, but I did have some coaches and some other gentlemen. But for me, the question I have for you, gentlemen, is what questions do you ask your children on a daily basis on like how they're really feeling, or how are they being empowered, or what are they really feeling? Like, how do you guys go into that conversation with your children?
I feel like I'm hogging all the answers here.
For everyone too, I'd love to hear.
Okay, so I'll answer. I'll take it with my kids, right? And this started from the time when I first dropped them off at school. Every day, they got the same question from me. How was your day? What did you do? What did you like about your day? What didn't you like about your day? And it spans, and I did it every single day because it gave them time, one, to decompress about school, to tell me what they liked, what they didn't like. And I also learned about them, because parenting is learning about your kids. It's understanding your kids. So that gave me a chance to understand their day, their structure, and everything else. And I continue that till this day. My kids are 28 and 21, and my son is still living with me. And when I tell you, he follows me around until I say, how was your day? If I just come into the house and I start doing what I'm doing, he stands there and until I say, how was your day today? What did you do? What'd you like? What didn't you like? What are you gonna do differently tomorrow? Until those questions get out the way, he's gonna keep around, and then after it's done, he walks away. So giving them that little bit of tidbit, for me, I feel like that empowers them, that gives them a sense that I feel you're important, and what you're going through is important to me. And you'll be surprised on how when you ask them, they'll give you emotional answers or they'll just give you regular answers. And just real quick before I pass it over, the hardest time I had was when they hit those teenage years, because those were the answers that were like, all right, those one-word answers. So then as a parent, I was like, all right, I need to pull more out of you. Because there's, you're going through changes, and there are changes that are always going to happen. So I had to evolve my questions in order for me to accommodate for those teenage years. So just a little tidbit. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, Gene filled half of the book. So. For me, same thing. I will get my son from school. We'll drive. I'll be like, ask him how your day, what you did. Did you get a teacher any problems? Do I need to pull the belt out? Stuff like that. But no, I mean, otherwise that, my son, he's a great kid. We mostly just had conversations. I play video games with him. So when we play video games, we trade conversation. I'm like, you good? You had it good? So he explained me. He'd be like, yeah, but I had a little problem today in my math class. And then I don't deal with math. Mom is the math lady. So science, anything else, he comes to me. So I mean, it's really just sitting down with the child and starting a conversation. It's just like going to meet a woman. You start a conversation. So yeah, just start a conversation, and that's it.
Thank you. I think a lot of the conversations about my kids' days and how they went happened either over a table where we're eating food or in the car when we're driving. And also just like doing activities with them. That tends to lubricate their mouth also, just playing with them and giving them that quality time where you're not parenting them, you're just letting them be them and you're enjoying them. If they feel emotionally safe with you, then they'll open up to you. And if they don't, then they won't. And then as they get older and they become adolescents, it's really about letting them exercise that new muscle between their shoulders, because yes, they have all of these idealistic ideas about the world, and if you just say, oh, well, you don't know anything, I'm your dad and I've got all this wisdom and you don't know what you're talking about, they're going to shut up and stop telling you what's on their mind, and they're going to go to the people or person who listens to their ideas, which is often their peer group, right? So that's when you kind of lose your teenage kids. So it's about being curious and being open to what you can learn from them. And, you know, it's like that book, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. It's pretty basic stuff, but it's so powerful.
Thank you. Another question?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Terry Ann Bennett. I'm the chief of our maternal fetal medicine services at Memorial Healthcare System, and my partner, Dr. Timothy DeSantis, who chiefs our high-risk OB hospitalist team. And we were in conversation and really wanted to ask each of you, what are ways that providers and physicians and hospital systems can be more supportive of doctors in the delivery room and through the entire pregnancy process?
Okay, I'm sorry. I think it's just the inclusiveness. I think, like I said, fathers have a different perspective on what's going on. So asking them questions also. I remember going to doctor's appointments, and it'd be me, my wife, and my child, and whether it was my daughter or my son, and then they'd say, "So, Mom, did they eat yesterday?" And I would answer the question. I think they were shocked when I would answer a question, because again, I was a very hands-on father. So I think not just even if father's in the room, asking him a question too. And if he can't answer it, then it's okay. But just making him feel like, hey, you're here, you're part of the family, you're part of the whole, like Daniel was saying, you're part of the village, and making him feel as if what he's saying is important. I don't know if that's what your question was, but I
think I want to add to that, even a step back to the inclusivity, is for the providers to really be honest and check whatever biases they may have and be able to accept those and be able to mitigate those. That is definitely some conversations that need to happen as well. More questions? Tabby up front.
I have a question. Oh, that's loud.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hello. It's not a question so much so as a statement that I want to make, and thank you so much for just your insight and sharing your experiences as fathers, because I think we need to give credit to the present fathers that we have. And we need to acknowledge that the younger generations, especially in the Black community, historically are the most present sets of fathers that have been co-parenting and giving of themselves in ways that older generations hadn't previously been doing. And so I just want to give you your flowers. Your son has been back here. He deserves all the video games today. But I do just want to give credit to the newer generation of fathers who are showing up, who are doing the work. I tell people that my husband is a better parent than I am. He's in PTO, he's volunteering. I don't even like other people's kids like that. So thank you so much for this conversation, and thank you so much for being the fathers that you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 5 minutes, so one more question. We have one more. Up here, Sam. You got a second to run up. Run. You got a question? You next.
I just want to thank y'all for having this section for the fathers. It's very important. My name is Thomas. I'm with the Breakout Foundation, and one of our key pillars are getting expecting fathers together with experienced fathers and sharing those tools and resources, because we all need help. Like you see, we have this today. We helped out a lot of the moms, and it's like the fathers are here too. So my question is, how can we get the organizations that are for the fathers, how can we get them together? Like, what are the steps to get them together and kind of get like a group or a council, a fatherhood council, that where we can pull from each other's strengths and weaknesses and networks and come together to really be a force for fatherhood? Because I'm with it.
Thank you for that. And that's suggestion noted. We have our fatherhood staff in here, so they will follow up, and I think that's a really good suggestion, because that goes back to what I was saying about building community, that there's not individual organization or individual people, but let's start building community around this conversation. And I know we're at time, but I'm going to let one of my colleagues, because she's been raising her hand for the longest and I missed her. Tabby has a question up front.
He kind of piggybacked on what I was going to ask, but thank you all for the information that you're sharing. But my question is, how do you re-engage a father who's not present, right? Because if the voice has been taken away and they're not being considered when they're in the room with their wife, you know, getting ready to give birth, or no input at all, how do you re-engage that father?
Dr. Michael?
Yeah, I call them up and invite them in, and I ask them if they want to speak with me. And sometimes a dad who's not as involved in their kid's life is kind of surprised to hear from me and that I want to hear from them. So I just kind of get them in and I help them feel safe and important, and usually I think that they really appreciate that, and that motivates them to want to be more present in their kid's life.
I think also there's a lot more resources out there, brochures, pamphlets, things that are geared specifically to fathers. I think getting those things, giving it to them, allowing them to see that as I'm giving you this, it's for you specifically, it's for the father, it's for you to understand more, to get educated. I think when you do that, you can pull them back in because you are re-engaging them directly. And it's not something that you're, you know, it's not, in the past it was, let me give you this brochure that was geared to mom and you read about it. Now it's more, let me give you something that's geared to dad because you're important too.
I would say talk to them, find out what's the situation, try to break that wall and understand what's going on in their life so you can wiggle out and go from there.
Yes. Let's show some love to our Fatherhood Effect panel. Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Remikie, for moderating. And thank you, everyone, for being a part of this very important conversation and topic. Please make sure that you complete your survey using the QR code located here if you need CEUs. And we will have a 15-minute break until we all return in here, the main ballroom, grand ballroom, at 3 p.m. for our final generation of the day, Healing Legacies and Shaping Futures, Cultivating Healing-Centered Organizations with Dr. Selena Webster Bass. So thank you again. Thank you, fathers. And thank you, everyone. We will see you soon.